Hey guys, Shane here, Aus Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, an aircraft, a utility from different types of flight simulators. I'll take them from a test around a block and give you my first impressions and is it value for money. In today's video, we are test driving the big brother of the Shrike. That's right, the 690B Turbo Commander from Carenado that's just been recently ported across into Xplane. And we'll be basing our flight out of the new scenery for Xplane 11 from Orbx, which is Broome, YBRM. And that also was recently ported across and released into Xplane 11 just the other week. So I thought it would be fitting to take the Commander out for a spin and take it around Broome. I have also tested the 690B in P3D version 4, so I'm interested to see how does the Xplane 11 version perform and what's going to be the key differences, and also I'll let you know my thoughts on which one's going to be the best one. But within saying that, let's take a closer look at the Commander. Originally, the Turbo Commander was released after the Shrike in 4P3D and FSX about 11 to 12 months ago. I would have to say these types of aircraft would have to be one of the most, or would be my top 5 that I've done the most hours of flying in a P3D, particularly the Shrike. So I'm a big fan when it comes to the Commander series of aircraft. Although out of the two, my favourite was the Shrike. I haven't used that in XP, so I'm really excited to see how the Turbo Commander will go. So we've been saying that, let's check it out. The external of the Turbo Commander is absolutely beautiful, but we expect high quality when it comes to eye candy for 3D modeling and textures when it comes from Carenado. But within saying that, the implementation of PBR within Xplane having metal shines just goes that little step further. In fact, Carenado claim on their website that the PBR materials authored with industrial standard software used by film and gaming industries. The Turbo Commander 3D modeling is also equally as great as the textures. They have gone far and beyond. I love the work that they've done, particularly with the landing gear and even the landing wells where the gears go into. They've modeled absolutely everything. The only side effect of having great eye candy means that the minimum requirements, or the recommended requirements for Carenado for this aircraft, is having a GPU of a GTX 1070 or better. The 690B is packed with a bunch of liveries, including 5 HD liveries, what you're seeing now as we're panning around the aircraft, and 1 blank HD livery. Unfortunately for me, all those liveries are mostly in the US and not seeing any Australian liveries or other liveries around the world, which would have been a nice touch to see. But within saying that, I have included an extra livery, which I'll leave a link in the description below, of an Australian livery in real life. So within saying that, it's time to jump into the cockpit of the aircraft and see if I can remember how to get this started, and we'll be on our way. Welcome to the cockpit. The 690B comes with a couple of menus, but very basic. Pretty much a shortcut for the autopilot. You've got a bunch of cameras which are installed, but I've wrecked those and made my own. And also an options menu for the window reflections and configuring your aircraft, such as baggage and pilot doors. Very basic stuff. Everything is locked up and ready to go, so we're going to turn the battery on and external power on. I'm going to start this aircraft up from memory because it's been a while. The button sounds for the cockpit are very similar to all the other aircraft. The 690B is no different. That is one sort of pick I wish Carenado would do some work on their sounds for the internal cockpit. But it's very easy to start up with a couple of clicks of the buttons, and starting the engines with the sounds is one of my favourite things of the 690B. The The engine sounds do sound excellent on the exterior, so let's listen to the startup through the interior of the aircraft. The startup is pretty much nearly complete. We're just going to turn on the generator for the right engine and turn our avionics on. Now we all pretty much need to just put the flight plane in. We're going to use the friendly GNS 530 from Xplane. It is compatible and supports the Reality XP GTN 750, but I'm not using it as we're just going to do a direct flight in this aircraft. As for system wise, the good thing is that pretty much everything on the dash here will absolutely work, which is pretty good than some of the other aircraft that we've reviewed over the years from Carenado. So system wise, pretty good for the Turbo Commander. So we're all set for taxi. We'll get underway, and I would have to say this is probably the most challenging part of piloting the 690B is the actual taxi, because this thing's got a lot of horses underneath. It can get away from you quite quickly, and from what I've seen when I've looked at videos of pilots piloting this aircraft is that they say the same thing, that you need to be very careful with the taxi, especially where the nose gear is on this aircraft. So just noticed we've got an AI aircraft loaded up on the runway there. That's from World Traffic 3, and one thing I've noticed, that World Traffic saying that there's no routes or ground routes for AI aircraft. So if you have World Traffic, you know what that means. So aircraft aren't really taking off and landing very well in Broome. So I think we're going to have a little bit of trouble with this guy, but we'll see how we go. But we're pretty much taxi is complete. We'll pull up at the hold line here and pop the flaps down and turn the landing lights on and turn the transponder on, and we'll be right to go. All good to go. Transponder is on, a strobe is on, doors are locked. Landing lights are on and extended, and the flaps are down. So interesting thing about the Turbo Commander is that it's not a stage flaps. The longer you hold the flaps button, the more that they will go down. So we're just going to pull out on the runway here. I'm just going to move into a flight position. Just bear with me while I'm having some issues. And we're going to have to sneak through this AI aircraft. So his props aren't spinning now. So before his props were spinning, now he's fully shut down. So apologies. But I'll sneak through. I didn't want to cut this part of the video short, so you just go, oh, how do you get to the runway? So we will just creep on through. With been saying that, I'm going to be quiet now. Please enjoy the takeoff, and I'll come back to you shortly. We are up in the air, and apologies, the Xenviro is going nuts with a turbo prop for the weather, so it doesn't normally fly around like a headless chicken like this, but we'll smooth out very, very shortly. So gears are up, flaps are going up, and we should smooth things out. We're basically going to make a left-hand turn, and we're going to head to our direct route. So you don't need much throttle to take this aircraft off. It's got a lot of guts in it for sure. So with in saying that, I think we should have a look at some views as we are departing Broome. Welcome back to the cockpit. We're pretty much at our cruising altitude, so I thought it was time we'd take a look at the interior as well. The interior is as high as quality as what the exterior is, and we expect that as well. The instrument reflections and the glass reflections are done quite well, and also the performance I find on my machine of the 690B works quite well. Some of the other things I forgot to mention before was the ground handling. So the ground handling has been adapted, so you're not skirting all over the runway like you do with other planes in XP, which is great. They've done a bit of work in the flight physics, and obviously they need to do that because it's a different platform than P3D, and it flies, in my opinion, a lot smoother, and it feels more realistic in Xplane. As we travel back through the cabin again, which is in high quality, you can hear the engine noises. The engine noises had an overhaul. Obviously this is a different simulator as well, and they sound quite realistic and have a nice hum to them. If we had quite a lot of money, we could be sitting back here on a charter flight, having a look at the engine and the ground of the outback below. But the 690B is probably one of those aircraft you could actually sit in the back, having quite a lot of views, outside views, and chill out for a little bit during your cruise. So that's it for the cabin tour. It's time to jump up the front again and prepare for landing. Welcome back to the cockpit. We're pretty much on our approach into Derby. It's about 60 nautical miles away from Broome, so it's a pretty quick flight, but I've been doing some turns and stuff, and S-turns while we've been around near this airport, and the 690B still flies like it's pretty much a fighter jet. So if you want something that's maneuverable as well, it's a lot of fun. I remember back in the days, I think it's this or the Strike, but seeing Bob Hoover do his aerobatic displays in this type of aircraft. So, but we're about to land pretty hot. We're a little bit high and we're pretty quick. So I'm going to be quiet now. Please enjoy the landing, and I'll come back to you just after wheels have touched down. That was super quick, and I'm going to make the brakes really hot, but geez, she brakes well. So we're going to make a left-hand turn here. There's not much to see at Derby, but we'll clear the runway and we'll take a quick look at the replay, and I'll come back to you with my final thoughts of the 690B. So So my final comments for the Carenado Turbo Commander 690B. Well, first and foremost, it looks great inside and out, but we expect that from Carenado. System-wise, it does everything that it needs to do for a 690B aircraft, so there's no complaints there. They've done some work on the sounds of the engines, which is great within Xplane, and also the flight characteristics are a lot different than what I looked at in prepared 3D. The only real criticisms I have to say would be, and I say this with every Carenado product, is just the buttons need different sounds for the different buttons, and I would love to have some more liveries from different aircraft around the world. Other than that, it's a pretty sound product and fun to fly, so if that's something that you're interested, I would definitely recommend taking a look at the Carenado 690B Turbo Commander. So that concludes our test drive video today. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up, it's much appreciated. If you're new to the Aus Flight Simmer channel, this is the first video I've seen, please hit the subscribe button for more content. And as I mentioned, more content, we are now doing 2 videos a week, so the full flight series is out every Wednesday, where you get to see me do user request full flights. And we just recently launched the Aus Flight Simmer Discord channel, so I'll leave a link in the description below. But that's it for me today. Thank you very much for watching and have an awesome day. Cheers, goodbye.